Okay, you will have a blueprint on Edmodo, so the code is on the back. Make sure you get that. It pretty much will just tell you the parts or the things that you're going to be tested on. I'm going to show you which questions or what formulas you need to know on your review. So, the last thing you're going to do in your packet are the following. In this review section, you have 3 parts. It's 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. If you want to take a picture of this, you can, or write it down. But for 7.1, I need you to do 2 through 16 even only. For 7.2, you're going to do 2 through 6 even, and 14. 7.3, 4 through 10, all of the problems, okay? Now, on your test, you have 2 things that you'll get to use to help you. One would be the formula chart, which is in the back of your packet. So we will provide that for you, so you don't have to memorize any of the formulas. And then you get to make a note card as a little cheat sheet for the test, okay? Your hint for your note card is probably put down your properties on your blue sheet for each shape, so you know what each shape, and then I'll tell you some things you might want to write down too. So I'm going to come by, you pick a note card, that's the note card you can use. You'll turn in your note card with your test when you're done, okay? Break it down by sections. I will probably do a couple with you so you know how to do the problems. You're responsible for the ones that tell you to complete. Most of them are even. So on this first section, 7.1. You're putting whatever you need to put on that card. Yeah. All right. Right in here for 2 through 8. Ooh. Sorry. For numbers 2 through 8, you're going to have to use slope and distance formula. When I'm talking about slope, you can do your rise over run, especially when they give you the graph. That makes you work smart, not overwork, okay? All right, things you need to remember. If it's equilateral, that would mean that all sides are congruent or equal, okay? If it's isosceles, then you would only have 2 sides congruent. And if it's scaling, no sides congruent. Alright, so make sure you know each type, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a problem with you. I need you to go through the steps with me, work it out. I'm going to do one, then you can do one so you know how to work it out, okay? Alright, so on number 2, since I know you're responsible for the even, and we're going to do an even in class. So for on number 2, you start off with looking at a side, and we're going to look at the side ZX, okay? So, ZX, what I do is I find its slope. When I do that, basically I'm starting at Z, I have to count how many units up to get to that X. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then how many units to the right to get to the X. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so the slope for ZX is going to be 4 over 3. So that's the first thing you show, is you show the slope. Then you take your slope or use your slope and do the distance. So we're going to use these numbers. It's going to be 4 parentheses squared and 3 parentheses squared. Yep, so we're going to have 16 and 9. So basically ZX is the square root of 25, and that's a perfect square. So what's the square root of 25? 5, and there is our distance. So we did both parts. But we have to do this for every side. So we did zx, then I'm just going to go to xy. To go to x to y, I'm now going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. So down is -5, right is +4. So there's my slope. And now I'm going to use the distance with that slope. So we would have a -5 squared plus 4 squared. And you're going to simplify that. -5 squared is going to be a +25 and 16. So xy actually has a length of square root of 41. That's not a perfect square, so we're done. We stop right there. Then we have the last side. What's our last side we have to do? We have to do y to z. Count your slope for y to z. What is the slope for yz? Yeah. And it's actually a -7. All right, we're using that slope for our distance of yz. So basically 1 squared plus -7 squared. Yeah, this is still for number 2. Yeah. All right, so 1 squared is just 1. 7 squared, 49. So we basically get square root of 50. All right, so I look at my distance. Square root of 50, square root of 41, and 5. All 3 sides are what? Huh? No. Opposite how?
They're not opposite. They're unequal.
They're not equal, yeah. They're all unequal. They're not congruent. They're not the same number. So what type of triangle is this?
Scalene.
Scalene. So you write scalene. Okay. Yep. Oh, this was 1 plus 49. All right. So look at number 4. What could you do on number 4? I'm gonna need you to sit up. I'm gonna need you to put that away. Number 4. Those with y'all's earbuds in, take them out. Put up your phones, please. We need to find the distance, the length. We need slopes and distance. There's one you don't need to do the slope for. There's one you should be able to find the distance to, like just looking at it. Yep. ZY, you can find the distance just by looking at it.
That's 0.
It's 8.
Oh, yeah.
You can just count. That's 8. So we already know that one's 8 just by off the graph. So what you're now going to have to do, remember, only one lines you can count are horizontal and vertical. So to do ZX, now that's when you're looking at your slope. You're counting your rise, overrun. I heard it. What was it?
5/4.
Yeah. All right. So now you know what numbers you're using for your distance. Okay? All right. So do we know like what steps or process you have to do for triangles? All right. So you're going to have one problem that's going to be a triangle. And then you're going to have 2 problems. Go to the next place for me with you. 2 problems that are going to be with the quadrilateral. Okay. I will show you a shortcut if you want to use a shortcut. So, because I'm looking at my slopes, let's say I'm looking at C to B. Remember, you're doing your slope. You're actually counting up the rise and then your run. If I do that, that's going to be 2. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 and 4, right? And then when I do BE, I want you to notice something. Do I need to take that? Or you just...
I'm writing down.
Oh, okay. All right, so on BE, it doesn't matter if I start from B or E, or yeah, B or E, you're going to have the same relationship. So I'm just going to show you something. This is up 4, oops, let me do it in red. This is up 4 and then to the left 2, so that's a negative 2. But now I can see something here. What do we notice about that? Yeah, it's just a flip, okay? 4, negative 2. Do y'all see how this got flipped? And what else happened? It got negative. So if I look at this, what I have here between these two right here are opposite reciprocals. And whenever you have an opposite reciprocal, that's showing perpendicular, basically the right angle. So I now know that there's a right angle, oops, between C, B, and BE. Well, if I do that for all of them, let's say I continue this pattern. This would be down 2, right? So that's negative 2. To the left 4, that's negative 4. And then this one here would be down 4, negative 4. To the right 2. What did we notice for every single one of them? Think about what would the distance be for every single one of them? The same, yeah, because I'm using 2, 4, right? I'm using a negative 2 and a 4. That's still going to give me the same. I'm using 2 and 4 again. I'm using a negative 4 and 2. It's still going to end up with the same distance. So, yeah, so we have all sides are congruent, and it's the square. So you could just show those slopes on your graph, and I know if you know the relationship between them, you're proving it. Okay? Yep, I'll accept that because you're showing it. All right, so if you go to this, CB, and you show 2 squared plus 4 squared, this ends up being 20. And then if I do the same thing with BE, we already know that's going to be the same. 4 squared and a negative 2 squared, this is also 20. So they're going to all end up being the same when you show the work. So that's that section. All right, so let's talk about this next section here. Okay. All right, number 10. You're going to be responsible to know when to do each type. Yes, sir. Yeah. All right. Because it's dealing with the parallelogram, just to help you out, please draw a parallelogram on your paper.
Oh, that's a beautiful parallelogram. It's true.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you need to show opposite sides of parallel. But whenever you draw your shapes, make sure you also always draw in your diagonals because you're going to use that. And in a parallelogram, the diagonals intersect and they bisect each other, but they're not congruent. All right, so write this down. To prove diagonals bisect, meaning the key word to this, whenever I want to prove bisect, you're going to use the midpoint formula. You're going to need to know when to do it. So I'm going to ask you to memorize these three facts. Okay? So if I'm not trying to prove bisect, every time you see the word bisect, that means you're going to have to use the midpoint formula. Okay? If I want to prove parallel or perpendicular, and that's our symbol for perpendicular, upside down T, you will always use the slopes. Okay? So anytime they ask you to prove it's a parallelogram or prove that it's parallel, use the slope. If I need to prove, congruent sides or diagonals. But the key word is anytime you have to prove congruent, anything that asks for congruent or equal, then you're going to use distance. I ran out of room. So on your test, basically there'll be a question and it says, you need to find the midpoint of two sides. What would you use to prove it? And you have to pick the right answer choice. You're going to pick slopes, perpendicular, midpoint. I forgot what's one of the other answer choices, but make sure you're familiar with that. All right, so 12, that's on you, okay? Draw a picture to kind of figure it out. It's dealing with quadrilateral, and connect the midpoints and see what shape you get. All right, last page here. We're going to add some notes on 7.1 and then we're going to 7.2. For this section, because all you have to do is 12 and 14, or 14 and 16. Whenever you're trying to find the most precise name for a quadrilateral, don't worry about the area. I don't need you to find the area. We're just finding the name, okay? When we're doing this, when given points, or just points. And if you notice, they've given us 4 points here. To find the most precise name, you're going to have to use the slope formula for all 4 sides. That's key. Make sure you do it for all 4 sides. The slope formula, you don't have to memorize this. This is on the formula chart I'm going to give you. Yes. The formula is, the symbol for slope is lowercase m. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So I'm just going to give it to you so you know to do this formula for this page on your review. This formula is not a formula you have to memorize. It's on the formula chart that I will give you tomorrow on your test. All right, so we're going to do 14. When you do it, you're going to do 2 points at a time. So I'm going to start off with AB. Remember, your order pair is X and Y, right? I don't know if you can see that. Y. All right, so Y2 minus Y1. What values represents the Y for A and B? 8 and 6. So we're going to do Y2 minus Y1. So that's 6 minus 8 on the top. And then what's going to go at the bottom for X2 minus X1? Yeah, 4 minus 1. And then you're going to simplify. 6 minus 8 is a negative 2. 4 minus 1 is just 3. And that's your slope. Side. So we go AB, then we go to BC. So what's going to be Y2 minus Y1 for BC?
Or negative 2 minus 6.
Yeah, negative 2 minus 6. There we go. And then hopefully have 1 minus 4. All right, then we simplify. Negative 2 minus 6 will leave me with negative 8. Okay.
Oh, never mind.
And then 1 minus 4 give you negative 3. But what happens when you have a negative divided by a negative, or a negative on top of a negative? It becomes positive. So this answer actually is 8 over 3. Okay. Make sure you pick the right answer choice. That will happen on the test tomorrow. So make sure you change it to a positive. Sit up, please. All right. Now, are we done?
Oh, we have 2 more.
No, you have to keep on. You got to do CD. All right, CD. What are you going to do for C and D?
0 minus negative 2 over negative 2.
Yeah. 0 minus negative 2 over negative 2 minus 1. And we're going to simplify that. Let me move this so we don't get it mixed up with the other one.
2 over negative 3.
2 over negative 3. All right, there's that slope. And what do we notice?
It's not. Oh, yeah, one of them.
Yeah, it's the same as AB, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, and then we're going to do the last one. Last one is A to D. A to D.
0 minus 8 over negative 2.
0 minus 8 over negative 2 minus 1. So we get negative 8 over negative 3, and then we learned and we know that that's not our answer. What's our final answer? Yeah, positive 8 over 3. All right, 8 over 3. Okay, so y'all already saw this. We saw that these were the same, right?
Yeah.
And we saw these were the same. Okay. If they're the same, what that tells me about they're parallel. So this is a parallelogram. Okay, why? Because this, some of y'all said square. Okay, why is this not a square? Yeah, every single one would have to be the same for it to be the square. You would have to have negative 2/3, negative 2/3, negative 2/3, all of them. Okay, and you would have to have an opposite reciprocal, so it had to be a flip. All right, so questions on that using the slope formula. You're gonna have 2 questions like that tomorrow.
Can you, like, all of the quadrilaterals are just, like those up there?
Yeah. All right, now we're going to 7-2. Go to 7-2, go to the next page. All right. The questions you have on 7-2 on your test tomorrow require you to come up with the order pair. Okay? Now, it tells us that this number 1, it's a rectangle with a base B. So this is B. Our base is at the bottom. B for base, B for bottom. And our height is H. Okay? So, we're going to come up with the order pair for each vertex, each corner. Well, C is real easy. What's the order pair for C? 0, 0. We're done on that. All right, now, if I'm at 0, 0 and I go to B, what is the order pair going to be for B? Because I'm going up the height. 0, H, yeah. 0, H, the height. Okay? All right, if I'm at our origin C and I'm going to D, that's going to the left. Not 0. Left. Left. Negative B, 0. Okay, negative B, 0. And then if I go to A, that's going to be left and then up. Negative B, and then H. Okay? All right, so let's look at number 2, because I know you're responsible for the evens. We have a rectangle again, but now it's at the center. And it says at the center of the origin with the base is at the bottom. So the base is from G to F. That whole thing is 2B. So what else could you conclude? If I know from G to F is 2B, what? The top is also 2B. Yep, that's right. And because this is at the origin, what's happening between each part? It's being bisected. So if the whole thing is 2B, then each part would be just B. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, they also tell me that the height is 2h. That means from E to F, that is 2h. That's a distance of 2h. But again, this is getting bisected. So what are each part on this? H. All right, so now we're going to come up with the order pair. To do F, I would have to go to the right a distance of B and then down a distance of H. So this would be positive B, negative H, because I went down. Down is negative. All right, what about the order pair for E? To get to E, what are we doing? From the origin. Yeah, B and H. Here we go, BH. And to get to D, now I'm going the other direction. I'm going to the left. Negative B, positive H. There we go. And then for G? Negative B, negative H. G. Yeah. If it was here, it would be 0. But I'm going down, going below the axis. Okay? Alright, now, the one I want us to make sure we talk about, let me get to it, will be on 7, oh, right here. I know that, oh, not this one. Where is it at? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right, so on this page 7.2, on here they just want to know what formula you would have to use. How would you determine, like, what properties are necessary? Okay. Okay, so you would have to know something about the sides being congruent or parallel. So just tell me what fact you have to know.
So, oh wait.
And then on this one again, all they want here is the order pair, which is what we did on the other page. Okay. Alright, and then I don't think I have you doing 14. I know I don't have you doing 16. Alright, let's talk about 7.3, the last section. Okay. Alright. On 7.3, okay, tell whether you can reach each conclusion below using coordinate methods, give a reason for each side. So if I'm going to prove that a triangle is isosceles, what information would you have to know to prove that it's isosceles? Yeah, 2 sides the same. Okay. Now, so if the midpoints of the sides on an isosceles trapezoid are connected, they will form a parallelogram. So let's draw. If they don't give you a picture, let's draw a picture to check it. So please draw this picture on number 6. All right. So my isosceles trapezoid, the legs are going to be congruent. Okay. Then they want us to connect the midpoints, right? I'm going to do this in red. Midpoints of each side. So I'm going to put a point where I think that's a midpoint, a point here where I think that's a midpoint, and I'm going to connect those midpoints. So if the midpoints of the sides of isosceles trapezoid are connected, they will form a parallelogram. Now, they're saying they want us to connect the midpoints of all sides. So I'm going to do a point here. That's the midpoint. That's the midpoint. Now we're going to connect all points. Boom, boom, boom. And what does that shape look like? Rhombus, kite. I heard rhombus. Sweet. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's just take 2 halves. What do we know about these 2? I know we're about to leave here. Those would be equal, right? Alright, what about these? Are they going to be equal to this one? Okay, so what would this be then? Not a rhombus, because not all sides are congruent. Kite, there we go, kite. And then I think I missed one. Did I miss one? I did miss one. Oh, you have to finish those. But there was a problem I missed that's going to be on the test. Where is it at? Oh. What? Yeah. Huh? Just do the evens. And I forgot, this number 13, you will have to do the midpoints. Okay? Like you're going to have, one of your pictures is a trapezoid. And they're going to ask you to find the midpoint of that. So you would have to use the midpoint formula. So that's pretty much the only other type of problem. which is, huh? Yeah, and we have to plug it in using the letters that they give you. Alright, so if I'm going to use the midpoint to find the midpoint between U and V, basically I'm going to look at my X and my Y's. I'm going to add them. So if I'm finding the midpoint M, which is my midpoint between U and V, I'm going to do my X values, which are 0 plus X divided by 2. And then my Y values, which is S plus a negative M divided by 2. And then I'm going to combine my like terms. Well, I can simplify 0 plus X. That's just going to be X over 2. And then S and M, or M and S, are not like terms. So I'm just going to have to keep that as S plus a negative M divided by 2. Or if I wanted to, I could write it as X over 2, comma, S minus M over 2. Then for T and X, to find this midpoint, you're going to add your X and your Y value. So let's say I'm doing it for Y. You're going to first find the coordinate of X. And so what I look at, I know it's the same horizontal distance or vertical distance. So I know it's a negative M, but I got to figure out how far I'm going over. Well, think about it like this way. It's symmetrical. So if this is at X, this also is going to also be X. There's going to be a negative X. And now we're going to add our values. So we've got 0 plus X divided by 2. And we have a negative S plus a negative M divided by 2. And then you simplify that. X over 2 and negative S minus M over 2. And that is the breakdown for your test. So the ones I didn't do, remember you're responsible for evens. You didn't have to do 16. I believe you had to do number 4 and number 6, which I kind of did. And then you have to do, actually you have to do all of these, right? 4, then you have to do 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We should be able to do that because we did those. And again, they're showing midpoints here. So we have to calculate those midpoints. And we're going to use your X and Y and use the midpoint formula. So if I was doing this one, this would be 0 plus A divided by 2. So that's A over 2. B plus 0 divided by 2. That's B over 2. So use what I'm showing you to finish your review. Study. Don't forget to do your note card. Don't forget to check out Moto for some maybe interactive practice. All right, thank you.